welcome to the last match of the playoffs. We're trying to figure out who will earn the chance to go to the mid-season brawl and hang out in Sweden and of course play some awesome games. And so far, Team Dignitas is looking like they want to travel.
Yeah, they definitely had a much better first map. They played it fantastically well. It was incredible. 15 kills to 0 as they take the first game, and now Team Liquid have to change their MO.
I think we've seen relative consistency from Dignitas in this whole playoff format. All 5 games, they've gone for a comp that, regardless of player skill, their heroes allow them to have basically put the aggression on pre-10. They either had incredible push power, like with the Zagara they ran, or they had incredible kill power, which is much more common for them. And they ran 4 games with that, where the other team was constantly afraid of just getting blown up from 100 to 0. I'd like to see Team Liquid try to just reverse that. Like, pick a comp that isn't just so susceptible to being caught anywhere on the map and blown up 100-0 from Dignitas, and try to like turn the early game around on them.
I want Team Liquid to be more aggressive. They are a team that is known for team fighting. They're a team that is known to have very aggressive team fights, well coordinated. Their shot calling is very different from any other team because they're usually on point as a team, have the same mind going into a fight. I want to see that more. Or I want them to resort back to strategies where they, on certain maps, play with the Vikings a macro game, have a strong foreman that is trying to push lanes. Cursed Hollow is a map where they have played Vikings.
Yes.
I actually believe that if we at some point go to Cursed Hollow, it might even be an early ban on the side of Dignitas because of that. But I want Team Liquid to fall more into their comfort zone of playing aggressive, taking fights, and not play these stall games that we just saw on the last map.
I mean, we know they're comfortable with it. We've seen global comps in the past with both Falstad and Dahaka, them doing the double rotations. We've seen aggressively Ming play from them. They know how to get resets. It was only one game. Game number 1, they did the stall tactics. So game number 2, all we're asking for is a bit of variation from Team Liquid because we know they can pull it off. Let's figure out which battleground we're going to. For game number 2, it is going to be Sky Temple. Dig choosing Sky Temple, which is a bit interesting to me. This is a battleground that Team Liquid usually is pretty solid on.
Yeah, so Team Dignitas feels confident here, and let's keep in mind that with the top 3 teams, we usually have very few maps that they don't want to play.
Yeah.
I think one of the maps that has been a bit of a trend to ban out or not being played was Warhead. We have a few teams that brought it back in, playing Ducks, for example, in Europe. Likes to play Warhead occasionally. In one of the Fnatic series, we've seen it too. But most of the time, both of the teams within the top 3 that face off against each other are quite comfortable with the maps. That's one of the reasons why first pick is such a big deal here as well. It gives you a huge advantage, especially since they are training on all these maps. I guess some of the teams have one map they don't play and they just ban it out every time.
Well, Sky Temple, what's so different about this battleground?
Well, I think it plays in well to the way that Dignitas has shown they want to play the game so far in these playoffs. 5 games of aggressive comps. Sky Temple plays in naturally to that. The early game tends to snowball on this map harder than most maps, and so as long as you can take the advantage in the first 7 levels or so, you can usually use that to capture the objectives, get to 10 first, and really run rampant with those small advantages you gain from the early game.
I think right now, as I said before, what I really want, normally when we are looking at teams facing off against each other, I'm a huge fan of saying you don't have to play your opponent's game, play to your own strength. But I really feel that in this case, between Liquid and Dignitas, we have 2 teams that are very good at team fighting, that have similar strengths. So I would say Team Liquid, just fall back into what you're used to do and believe in yourself that you can take Dignitas in these team fights instead of trying to play too much around them. So we have good bans already on both sides. Genji, high aggression on a lot of maps. We talked about it yesterday. And of course, the Anubarak as a very universal, very strong early pick just sets up a very flexible draft for yourself, and globals being prioritized in the picks. Team Liquid this time with a Dehaka trying to get the extra value, especially on the top lane towards the second shrine phase.
I like Dignitas' answer there. They know that Team Liquid wants to move into Dahaka. Every time he's available on this battleground, they will go for the first pick, and this leaves Dignitas in a spot where they can get their own global, as you were mentioning. Falstad can be moved into, and then from there, they could probably grab the support they would normally want to grab, which is going to be that Malfurion.
Yeah, I like this choice by Team Liquid to open up with the Dahaka rather than one of the other globals. He gives you that global power, but he doesn't sacrifice the early game strength, which has been a problem for teams against Dignitas so far. Dahaka, you're able to keep the aggression on. With a false stat or some other global, you really don't have that kind of early game power that Dahaka brings. So Liquid already looking to be aggressive in the early phases of the game, which I like.
What do you think about this? Straight into Tyrael and Greymane.
It makes me laugh a bit because there was an early Twitter conversation between, I believe it was Darkmog and Snitch happening, where they were, of course, bantering about the series that is being played here. And Darkmog, after one of his tweets, just made a shout out to Snitch to say, yeah, I hope it's not your birthday today. Just referring back to when it was Snitch's birthday and he played on Greymane on that day and just got kill after kill. And the two of them bantering back and forth a little bit about it. Now we have that Greymane, and there's a very high chance that we're going to see Snitch playing him.
And Cotton, I want to ask you, Falsehead being up and available, not being picked up, what does that scream as a team?
Well, if this were NA, I would say the possibility of a later Abathur was definitely there. I'm not sure that's something that EU runs here on this map.
Definitely.
Okay. So the fact that Falstad and Abathur are both available, both go well with this opening here.
There we go.
Well, it's been taken away. I was to say, Dignitas is probably banking on getting one of those in the back half of the draft. However, what we might see from Liquid here, removing one of those two potential globals and banning the other, it could put Dignitas in a tough spot here. Look for a potential Falstad ban here.
Abathur went so high on this battleground that occasionally, depending on the teams that play, we have seen him banned out early on the first ban. So that was definitely a hero that was to be expected here. If not as a pick, then at least after the Greymane pickup as a ban in the second rotation.
And the control that Abathur and Dahaka brings to the battlefield is absolutely insane. It's almost impossible to fall behind in experience with Abathur and Dahaka, constantly being in lanes and controlling lanes, rotating in. If Dahaka has to go in for a fight, Abathur can hat. If Abathur needs to help a teammate out, he jumps in. This is a very strong pickup and a great foundation for Team Liquid, especially with that Varian. Varian with Abathur hat, insane.
Yeah, also one of the things that's pretty crazy with the Abathur hat is Zeratul, which is why Dignitas banned him out, since they are saying, hey, if that Zeratul appears anywhere on the map, maybe even Dahaka jumping in, and then there's, of course, more or less a 3 versus 1 immediately on the lane. We can't risk falling behind in the early game because of what you said earlier. This is a map where it's hugely important that you're not falling behind, get snowballed against, so they're just shutting that down. And in this case, it is actually Team Liquid that bans out the Vikings.
Interesting. So it does seem like the EU teams really don't want to play against the Vikings after they've secured the Abathur. One interesting thing here is that many of the common Abathur clones have already been removed from the draft in some way. Dignitas has removed Genji and Zeratul, and they already have the Greymane themselves. So those three are some of the most common clones for Abathur. Another good one is Tychus. Do you think we'll see Liquid opt for that if it's still left up by Dignitas?
That would definitely be one of the options for him, for sure. You can't set Trick, by the way, up that way, because he's definitely going to jump onto the monstrosity if you push it too far.
Oh, no, Trick.
KO makes it work in HL. That's all I'm saying. It's pretty good, dude. He gets it done. Give it a few stacks, you go crazy.
Look at that smirk.
I'm banning Abathur next time Trick's on my team.
I'm on your team, dude! Psalm. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about Psalm later on. It's one of your teammates, man. He bans my Chromie every time we're together, and it just bonkers in my brain, man.
I'm waiting for the Gul'dan, to be honest.
Yeah, Gul'dan mixed in as well.
That's one of the heroes where I'm still thinking this, especially Mena on Gul'dan, is something they really like to run. So I was waiting for them to pick it up. And he destroyed other teams with his Horrifier on this map. I like also that we have Arthas now taken. That was before Varian came in. I could have seen Abathur with an Arthas being used, since that's, first of all, a great copy target, and second of all, having an Arthas with a symbiote in the middle of your team is absolutely horrifying.
I'm curious to see where they go here, because Tychus does work with the Abathur clone and against the lineup that Dignitas has already, but I know Mene tends to prefer the mages here, and they don't naturally get as much value from the Abathur clone on them as some of the other targets, so I'm really curious to see what DPS they go with. Okay, it is the Tychus. Despite Mene's preference for mages, they go for one of the remaining good clone targets and working fantastically
it's
against the team.
well,
Oh, yeah, it's Liquid.
Oh, sorry, I got my EU teams mixed
No,
up.
that's all good. The Tychus making sense here. You work out, you burn down the Arthas, you can deal
Mena
with
on
Greymane.
Liquid, you heard it here first, boys.
That'd be a scary lineup, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Would be a
But who do
scary
you
lineup.
drop?
That is a hard one. That's a hard one. Well, Dignitas on the right side, finishing up with their fifth. It's going to
Do
be
you
the
see how you
Zagara
dodged
once
the
again.
question?
I did
You
just
see how you
dodge
dodged
it, man.
it?
So,
I mean, I can't just sit there and just decide these things, man.
Yeah, you started it.
I mean, it's true.
There's the Zagara, though, and yeah, it seems like Mena's gonna play Zagara again. He did that already I believe, yesterday.
There are better tools for Team Liquid to handle Zagara, though, compared to what we saw yesterday on Brax's holdout.
Yes.
There's actually a Dahaka here, there's an Abathur, who, Abathur, while he won't stop a Zagara push, he can at least soak the experience and keep the team in it. They'll need Dahaka, of course, to be helpful, but you still have flanks available, and there are ways for them to deal with it.
Okay, now that I've figured out what team Mene is on, let's talk about his Zagara. His Zagara is not typically something you see from him. It was actually his first competitive game of all time on Zagara yesterday. However, it seems to be something he's been practicing. It makes sense in this context. It's very strong at punishing Abathur in the early game, and like we talked about, Sky Temple is one of those maps where the early game matters more than most, so a good pickup.
It's one of the craziest things about Mena in general. He plays, of course he has his heroes that he really excels at. Traditionally, it's the mages. But if you look at his account and just how much he plays, no matter where he is, he probably plays out of all the pro players by far the most games, just from a quantity level and across all the heroes. It is absolutely insane. So he starts playing in the morning, does his scrims, and when he's not scrimming, you find him in Hero League or you find him in T-League. It's crazy. So he's pretty versatile in his hero pool, but normally you find him on those mages because that's just the role that he excels at and also where his team usually wants him. But his Zagara looked very strong yesterday.
Yeah,
too.
I'm pretty excited to see him on heroes that we don't typically see in competitive games, so this should be an interesting match, especially the early game.
Well, Mene is committed, but so is Dignitas. They're hoping to get a 2-0 here. Let's move into Sky Temple and see if the pressure can be put on to Abathur and Dahaka.
Game number 1 didn't end well for Team Liquid. They are down 1 map going into game number 2 now. On Sky Temple, we have Team Liquid to the left side against Dignitas. Hazops this time on Abathur. Splendor on Uther. Blumby at the front line on Varian with Nurok on Dahaka, the solo laner. And for the range DPS, it is Dartmok on Tychus.
To the right, in the red, Dignitas will be showing up. Malfurion will be being played by Bakery. JPL will be on the Tyrael. We're going to have Zagara played by Snitch, actually, here. Greymane will be played by Mene, and Zalia will be on the Arthas.
All right, Greymane played by Mene. We saw that already once, so they switch it up a little bit from yesterday when we had Mene on the Zagara. Snitch this time, not on his traditional hero. JPL, by the way, gets blown to pieces. Team Liquid is showing up on map number 2 with a great rotation towards the bottom, expecting Tyrael to be there and taking him out.
Team Liquid with the first kill of the series, and Tyrael not having a very good day. Blumby got killed 4 times, I think, in the last game, and now JPL instantly feeds in the first 30 seconds.
It makes me really happy, by the way, to see that switch again between Snitch and Mene on Greymane and Zagara. It's one of those points that we often make when we have overlap on certain players with their heroes, that they are just able to play all of those. Traditionally, you see Snitch on Greymane. He's one of those players that just excels at that role and really loves to play it, but this time just having a bit of a different setup here. Mene probably feeling a little bit more confident on his Greymane skills here. He is usually the aggressor, whereas Snitch now takes over the bot. But after we saw the Tyrael kill, we have the answer. Uther taken out, so Dignitas definitely showing up right after that, saying, okay, you got your early game kill, but now we're taking, at least for the early game, the Uther out.
1-for-1 trade so far. Dahaka will remain in that bottom lane, trying to deal with the Zagara bunch coming their way. Darkmok in the top, dealing with JPL, while Blumby will charge forward on the Bakery, attempting them to get into a fight. Now, let's figure out how this Temple phase is going to work out. With an Abathur being on the field, it becomes a little bit more difficult for Team Liquid to control both, but they should be able to hold the comfort here in the middle.
Yeah, they are currently strong in the middle with Blumby being assisted by Abathur. Abathur also so far going into a shield build. There's a couple of talents where he can be flexible, even a potential mule possible at least on 7, but we have seen that shield build being used in the past already quite a bit. Can be very strong here if you don't have a melee assassin that you try to empower with a symbiote focus.
Going to be staying on that Tychus when he can to get those heals popping up for him. Tychus being one of the harder assassins to kill in the game, especially with the competition here for Dignitas. They'll have to get Greymane in the backline, which means Uther will be there waiting for a stun. Blumby and crew still holding the middle pretty well, but Dignitas has made their move. They move on in and start applying pressure.
Bigger they are now also online for the Tychus. It helps to burn out down the targets. Now with the shields on Abathur. Oh, another attempt to take down JPL. That was a close call. That was a really close one, barely getting out of it.
Yeah, and the thing is he rotated in, but he left Zagara in the bottom lane. Zagara has a full wave of minions pushing into that bottom left tower, and is going to start working on the well pretty soon. So Dignitas in a pretty great spot so far, as they'll take a lead 6 levels to 5.5.
Now, traditionally, the early game of Abathur is, of course, weaker. That's something to definitely consider here. Dignitas is supposed to get slightly ahead in the early game. It's Team Liquid's objective now to make sure that they are just slowing that down a bit and not falling too far behind early on. I'm very curious to see what we're going to have on the level 7 for Abathur. You can either go for the network carapace if you're trying to follow through with your symbiote, with the shields. You have also, of course, a couple of options with vileness, just slowing down movement speed. Normally, you combo that off with the global if you are really worried about the rotations being a thing. But Mule on Sky Temple is definitely an option.
It can be very effective. Typically, if you have a fort that's around half health at level 7 and you think you can save it, it's usually when you go for that pickup. We're getting close to that level 7 hitting while Nurok sits in the top lane to start clearing out the pressure from Snitch as he's looking to break down the fort. And remember, when Zagara breaks down a fort, that's when her pressure becomes tenfold. She can push in different lanes, she can suddenly start looking towards her keep walls. So Snitch will be pretty aggressive, hoping to get that fort down before 10.
Already massive push at the top lane, thanks to that help. Abathur deciding against the Mule, goes for the network carapace. That helps him to push the lanes out a bit more, especially when an objective is on the other side of the map. He can just simply start pushing a certain lane and empower all of the minions there with a shield to give them a bit more time and put pressure on. At this point, pressure on Zelia as he's being attacked here. Varian dashing in, does of course not have the taunt yet, but already free damage against the frontliner of Team Dignitas.
Yeah, Starkmonk putting out a lot of damage there. Blumby slowing him down just enough, and that becomes a deadly kill at level 10 with taunt coming out. So Zelia will have to be careful with Tychus having the ability to burn through those tanks so effectively.
Yeah, and then you talk again about this game of chicken where Malfurion has to decide, do I use my cleanse now? But of course, with only a 16-second cooldown on taunt, and you have a 60-second cooldown for your cleanse, you have to be really careful to use the cleanse only when you realize, hey, my opponent is fully committed to that kill at this point.
Team Liquid holding in there, waiting for that level 10 to hit. They are a level 1.5 away, but so is Dignitas. JPL threatening forward engage here as he drops Eldruin on top of Darkmonk, but the Abathur hat popping out. We're going to have a trade-off as Darkmonk goes in for JPL.
Yeah, and Liquid is doing well here so far at the bottom. Maynard jumping in for a moment. JPL himself in trouble, though, gets slowed down once again, and that's the kill that Team Liquid was looking for. At the top lane, Dehaka is also slowing down Zagara's pressure. Was waiting in the bushes for a moment before he moved in. And Liquid is definitely looking good in this early game before Abathur has his level 10 available.
In terms of macro, though, Dignitas is doing pretty well. That fort's about to finally die in that top left. It's down to less than a quarter health. Dehaka doing his best to slow it down, as you mentioned earlier, but that will definitely be taken at some point here in the game. It's a matter of when Snitch wants to commit to finally burning it away. Now, 10 is about to hit.
One important thing to note when we talk about talents is also an adjustment that we see on Dehaka going into the feeding frenzy on level 7. The whole idea is that you have your drag available a lot more often and you can follow up on the taunt from Varian. So every single basic attack that Dehaka dishes out now reduces the cooldown by 2 seconds. Hugely important here to just get these chain stuns against the target to take it down, to allow Tigers to drop the damage, and they're going to do that as much as they can right now at the bot lane against Zelia.
Arthas is getting low. Does he get out? He does, just barely, as Team Liquid cannot secure the kill.
I like really what we're seeing though. Liquid has, after the last game, said, guys, let's be more aggressive. We need to do something here. We can match them. Let's just go play our style, take these team fights. We have the coordination. Let's just show them what we're made of. And currently they're looking strong here. Dignitas, of course, still completely holding against them. But this is a much more even game than what we've seen in game number 1.
Varian charge in. Here comes the taunt. Drag goes out, but misses out Mayne there as he'll be able to escape away from the fight.
Was also a fantastic root on from Bakery.
Bakery helping out with the roots there, and Team Liquid puts all of their aggressive tendencies into getting that mana. Unfortunately, won't be able to do so, so Darkmonk will push in here on the top as he's starting to get some damage in, but Dehaka has to deal with the Zagara push as that fort finally falls.
Yeah, that was one of the big things here. Nurok burrowed down and Bakery heard it. He saw he heard the audio cue and immediately dropped the root onto the only bush where he said, this is where the biggest threat is going to come from, and then there was no drag opportunity for Nurok. And all of a sudden, that move from Dehaka, from the top to the bot was more or less wasted, didn't get the value, but it allowed Zagara at the top lane to go for the structure. That was really cool from Bakery, and also then of course Snitch capitalizing on it just by realizing, hey, I have a time window, I can take the structures down now.
Team Liquid makes it all good in the hood, though, as they go ahead and trade out forts. One on the top, one here on the bottom, and now it's all about grabbing the temple. Some forts already taking damage here in the middle, as Team Liquid will go ahead and clear a second fort of the game, while the temple on the top was actually contested here by the Dahaka.
The Haka moved in, immediately a Hydra being thrown down from Zagara, and a Burrow just making sure the Hydra retargets down. Here on the other hand, it's Odin that's being popped by Norok. He's starting to go in. Norok with that drag there, going for it. Mana low, and finally goes down. Good kill by Liquid, grabbing the 13.
Big isolation there by Nurok. He landed it on Bakery, so Bakery couldn't bring out the heal, nor could he walk forward to bring out an important route. Eventually, he was able to get back to the fight, but at that point, it was too late. But look in the top lane. Zagara continues pushing.
I really like what Snitch is doing. Snitch was on the temple. He sees the Haka move to the bot, and Liquid gets the kill. But that triggers an immediate reaction from Snitch saying, Temple? What do I need the temple for? I push the lane down, I take the structures. If there's no one to contest me here, no one to meet me, no one to take me down and put aggression on me, then I can just simply take the structures, we fall back, and then we go up to the top and try to take the temple shots again. Cool reaction from him, I'm really liking it. And that's a constant threat against Team Liquid, something that is always in the back of their head and they have to worry about.
It's all about a game of reactions here. As Dignitas did get that push on the top for a little bit, started grabbing the temple, but Team Liquid realizing the only main point to contest was that top temple. They rotated 3 members up there until they could have their Dahaka show back up, and they grabbed a few of the shots themselves. Now, we're in a very interesting tug of war. The moment that a keep actually starts taking damage from Dignitas, they're going to be in a really good spot, especially with 16 hitting soon, as they can contest boss, they can control the map really well. Their flow of the battleground is in a good spot if Team Liquid is unable to get a keep soon.
I like it. This is a really cool game. This is very entertaining so far. And with the Nidus network, Zagara just all over the map trying to play a bit of a global. And now even a move for boss, but Zelia at the top lane will die. If boss is taken by Dignitas, that would of course be a bit of a win, but there could be a trade at the top lane. For now, though, it looks as if we are going to see this contested. Double Uther, and Nurok is moving in as well. They're trying to steal it away, and they can make it happen.
They do it easily here. The isolation hits on Zagara. She's forced to retreat from the fight, and the boss is grabbed.
I love this idea, by the way. They are looking at Splendor moving in, and they know Dehaka can burrow down. The rest of the team is still far away. Who do you copy? You take the Uther. First of all, he has the stun, and even if you can't get a kill here, he can keep everyone alive long enough for the rest of the team to meet there, and then you have a 5 versus 4, since of course Zelia is still dead on his Arthurs, and they just steal the boss away. Team Liquid with such a good game compared to what they showed on the first map.
That was a big swing in this game. I mean, they're already getting keep wall damage here on the bottom right. They're working on the fort in the top. They'll be able to grab the temple to the very north. Team Liquid on a roll right now.
Yeah, and look what they are doing. They're pushing in the temple at the top. They see everyone down to the bot lane because of the boss. So they don't want to go for the temple just now. If they go for the temple immediately, all it does is take down the top fort. They can get that anyways. So they take it down first, and then they move Uther to the top. More value for them. Really cool game. But Dignitas still only a level behind. This is by no means done yet.
Look at the big swing, though. It's 16 to 15. You mentioned only a level, but it's a level that's enough to be a talent, which makes it a bit harder here for Dignitas to go in for a fight. They, at this point, are just taking what they can on the map. Experience here on the bottom, grabbing the knights in the top right, and also soaking experience. But there's a trap here for Snitch. Snitch is stuck in a corner. Drag connects, so does Taunt, and the bug is down.
Yeah, the bug is down. Zagara eliminated. And you're, of course, absolutely right. It's an important talent lead that they have. It's the extra talent in this case. So that level that Team Liquid was able to get plays a huge role here. The roles are a bit reversed. It's now Team Liquid playing the aggressive game.
Wow, is he gonna live?
Be a shield, yes, Divine Shield if needed. They're starting to jump in, and Divine hasn't even been used yet. Norok is still alive. They're fighting, and Mana is falling in the back. That's the second kill of 5 versus 3 now. And Dignitas, instead of getting the kill they were hoping for, they are now on the run.
Taunt in 3 seconds. He's coming in. 2, 1. Taunt. Drag. There it is. Arthas is down. And 3 kills happen in the span of 15 seconds here. Dignitas moving forward with the Odin.
Team Liquid shut down the momentum on the side of Dignitas. They are moving through the middle now. We have still Abathur protecting the bot lane here. Dignitas short 2 players. And Fort still falls thanks to the camp they took a bit earlier. Hazards has to be careful down there. But overall, Liquid doing a good job in this game. 7 kills against 1.
There's still good news for Dignitas, though. They have yet to lose a keep. We keep talking about it. That's how important it is for both of our teams to land that keep. The catapult pressure, their comps can really start to move forward. The aggression from Team Liquid gets amped up. The strength of Zagara gets amped up if Dignitas gets their own keep. It's all about that. Now, with the temple activating in 15 seconds, both of our teams should be heading to the north here to start dealing with the single altar that is available.
They're really playing well with those globals and controlling the map. They're also shutting down creep whenever they can, and that plays a huge role here. If Snitch has a lot of Nidus networks available to him to go deep into the map, then it's a huge problem for Team Liquid. But at this point, they're very diligent about taking these creep tumors down and eliminating options for Snitch. And just look at exactly this setup here. Once again, it's absolutely perfect. Having the isolation here, going immediately in for it, Abathur helping out Yahaka. This is exactly what that hero is supposed to do. Great global utility. Nurok moves to the top. Has, of course, a cooldown reduction on level 7 on his track. We just talked about it. And here comes the cleanse, making JPL for a second unstoppable. No follow-up kill, but this is just very well executed on Team Liquid's part.
It's the speed of Abathur that's helping out that Nurok. Ever since the speed came online, Nurok has been aggressive with his pushes into both Zagara and, of course, the rotations in where we saw the kills earlier. Really, those two working together in tandem have been perfect. Now, Team Liquid is in a 5v4 as they are in the top left corner with Splinter taking damage.
Yeah, the speed is actually really important here. Both of them just work so well together. He makes him just a gank monster. There's the silence. It doesn't help Belgary. The Twilight Dream is over. Zelia is in trouble. Everyone is in trouble. Taunt is ready. As you just said, Nurok, on the other hand, gets a bit bodied there by the Holy Ground. But now Darkmorg and his teammates are starting to push in for the keep at the top lane.
And this will be the first keep of the game that should be going down. Mane dropping a cursed bullet, just hoping to apply something to scare away his opponents, but nothing connects. And with 20 on the horizon, Team Liquid is starting to move in for potentially core.
Malfurion is still down. There's no support at this point. Snitch and Mane are posturing around. I don't really think they can core here, though. They need to be a bit careful with this. So, Nurok, all right, moves away. Smart choice, goes to the top. Good escape here as well. We have 5 man on the board for Dignitas. Zagara now at the bot lane. Nurok, of course, just used his global, so he's walking slowly down there. Someone needs to slow down, but the problem is they're fighting at the top right in the meantime. They're trying to get a kill here, and that allows time for Zagara to push the bottom.
Yes, Dignitas trying to keep the attention of Team Liquid in this general area. They don't want to do a full fight, obviously, 20 to 18, but distracting your opponents can net you some damage on that keep wall. Now, finally, the keep wall has been killed off, but here's the temple being grabbed at the top, and it's shelling away on the middle keep of Team Dignitas.
And the important part is, of course, level 20. 9 kills against 1. The Storm Talons are ready. Bob and Weave taken for Tigers. And this is a big question now. How does Dignitas react? Do they try to make a play for boss? Can they? I doubt it. But what else are they going to do here? They're currently sitting at the bot lane trying to steal camps away, but Liquid is having none of it.
Liquid comes back to take out their own camp, while Dignitas will grab theirs on the right. Tychus is joining in the fight pretty soon, so watch for Team Liquid to potentially move in for engage at some point here. They would love to fight before their opponents hit 20. Blumby comes in, but it's a little bit too late.
They could also think about making a move for boss. The one problem they have with it is, of course, Holy Ground and Sanctification.
And Twilight Dreams,
yes.
All of those abilities, oh man.
That's, even with them not having 20, Dignitas that is, that's a big problem for Liquid, so they don't want to risk anything here. You don't want to dominate the game and then lose because you throw on boss.
Well, Team Liquid is doing their best to hide. Blumby will show himself here on the right side. They're trying to bait their opponent into an engage. Zagara has rotated down. She will be in the vicinity so she can help out in the fight as top lane is already pushing. And with a half a level, still away from 20, Dignitas is doing their best to keep the attention of their opponents but never actually engage.
Dignitas is doing very well closing the gap in experience and reaching their Storm talents. Darkmorg and his boys are now starting to move over, still in the boss area, but what they would really like to do is shut down the Nidus networks, and that's where we see Tyke is headed right now. He's trying to take one of them out, just start to limit the options of Zagara more and more so that she cannot simply aim for a kill against the keep while you are busy either going for a temple or engaged in a team fight.
20v20. We have hit it here. One keep down for Dignitas, one about half health in the middle lane, but so far they are holding on. They are getting aggressive in the top left, grabbing mercenary camps. They would love to net their own keep if the possibility allows for it.
That fort in the mid lane is a big problem for Dignitas. If they grab a temple, it's going to attack the fort first. So they have very little pressure against the keeps exuding from those temples, so they have to move in as they do now at the top lane and take it down manually. But this could be a trade. At the bot lane we have two heroes. It's a bit of an awkward moment for Team Liquid actually, so they are not quite sure how to respond to this. We still have two heroes that are just now making their way back. The keep has fallen at the top. It was a fantastic move by Dignitas. They just got a free keep.
That spread was relatively ridiculous here, as Team Liquid was setting up for the bottom right to push in, but Zagara answers back with the Nidus network. The temple's now grabbed. It's 1-1. Now, we do have a temple being grabbed to the south, but it's hitting the bottom keep here, not the one in the middle. So Dignitas is in a solid spot where they can make a decision here. Do we rotate in? Do we burn down our own keep? They have to decide something soon, though.
But they're going to lose it.
They are going to lose that
and
keep.
The problem is now still, we have a huge trap set up down here to the left side of the map. At the same time, though, there is always the potential for a backdoor with Sanctification. That's something that Liquid has to be worried about. So they need to make sure that they, if it happens, they see it coming, they're ready for it. And so much patience on Dig right now. They have Zagara at the top, and they're just simply saying to Lig, we dare you, just move in. And look at Nurok, something's fishy here. There's no Murky in the game, but something's fishy.
Something is quite fishy. Dignitas has put it all on the line here. They decided, okay, we either kill somebody now, or we lose the game. Darkmok has came back. It's going to be a core rush. They're moving straight in for it. They do have Sanctification. They also have a Grey main. Can they burn through?
No way. It's a Hail Mary. It's the only thing they have left to do. They're trying it, but that's Grey main down. This is game. This has to be a double kill already. No keep left. They're going for JPL. Sancto no saying it shouldn't be enough. 70% on the core. JPL, keep in mind, he explodes with his trade, so that's another few points, but it's just not enough. Zagara also not here.
Zagara was actually chased by the Ultimate Evolution clone to the top right. That's why she's currently sitting in the middle doing nothing, because she was chased away. Team Liquid groups up and runs to the core.
Just to put this into perspective, what just happened, Dignitas realized, hey, we lost the game. They lost every single keep. They cannot win this in the long run. They had to make a move. Snitch now is actually trying. Abathur is still there, but they're moving for the core. They need to be a bit careful here, but Snitch is in the long run not going to be able to make this. So Dignitas was setting up a trap. They were doing whatever they could with the trap to get a kill and then move for the core. It didn't happen, and at some point they just had to say, guys, we need to make the move right now. It's the only move we have. It's probably not going to work, but we have no other option. Team Liquid, defense, goes for the core, well executed, and was a sneaky attempt by Dignitas, but it didn't work out.
Well, I'm happy. We're guaranteed at least 4 games here, as Team Liquid will tie up the series 1-1 on Sky Temple. We'll be going to a game number 3. Solid play from both of our teams, but it really did come down to the wire there in the late game there. The call from Dignitas just not quite working out the way they had envisioned. And Cawthon, what do you think about that match?
I think Dignitas committed to what they've been doing the entire time so far, which is to try to take an advantage pre-10. They saw the Abathur on the side of Team Liquid. They thought, we'll take Zagara, we'll get the early push, we'll get the early advantage on Sky Temple, where those advantages mean a lot. However, Liquid did a great job at just not allowing that Zagara push to really be effective at any point into the game, up until level 18, 19, where the game was hanging on by a thread anyway.
Dehaka also, with the Abathur symbiote, just did so much to always pressure Zagara back. And I really like still how Dignitas played it. Even with Team Liquid dominating the map and really showing up, getting the kills, getting the lead, there was always that threat towards the core. Opening up the top keep was a fantastic move by Dignitas, and then they have the patience to sit there, open up that trap. Team Liquid didn't fall for it. You could see that Nurok hesitated a bit on the Dehaka.
Yes, he
do
was
I really
wondering.
move out there? Something's weird. I don't see anybody on the map. What do I do? But then Dignitas, when they lost the final keep, they said, guys, it's now or never. We have to try it. We have Sanct. Let's give it a shot. It just wasn't enough. But they always had they always had the opportunity to make that one core rush happen, and that's why Team Liquid probably had a lot of adrenaline pumping even at the end of the game.
Yeah, I like how Team Liquid just recognized that something funky was going on. They had somebody missing for so long. They even sent Darkmok, their main damage back, to sit around in the middle just to make sure nothing wonky could happen. And he was there when that 4-man push came in and Team Liquid was able to defend. Now, going into game number 3, we'll see if we'll have our teams be able to break forward and start moving towards the midseason brawl. We'll be right back.